Good morning, everyone. We're going to try some new technology with the live meeting. One thing I have noticed as I'll use my mouse to point out things on the slides, there'll be a slight delay, so I'll try to talk a little slower if I can. If you'll go to the first slide, which is well, I guess I'll take you to the first slide, which is a graph which shows the oil we've recovered using the LMR PCAP and now the Q4000. The graph goes from June 4th, when we first started recovering oil with the LMR PCAP, and you can see how we've continued to increase the oil collected over time. And then on the last couple of days, you can see with the purple color on top of the blue, the oil that's also been recovered through the Q4000. So we sort of reached a maximum of around 13,000 barrels a day through the LMR PCAP, and then we've added up to essentially 10,000 barrels a day through the Q4000. So yesterday we collected a total of a little over 25,000 barrels, and our cumulative collection is now over 200,000 barrels. So remembering that until we collect every drop of oil, we won't be satisfied, but within that context, the teams have made very good progress in terms of collecting oil at the seafloor, so it's not entering the Gulf. In terms of going forward, there's perhaps a little bit more we can do through the LMR PCAP, but I think it's fairly limited. We're probably very near the maximum there at about 16,000 barrels a day. If you remember, we said that the range was sort of 15 to 18. On the Q4000, we said the range was 5 to 10. We're really at the upper range at the 10, although the team's looking to see what else they can do to perhaps go a little further. So we're in the range of collection with these two in the range of, call it 25, 26,000 barrels a day. We said the range was 20 to 28, so we're clearly in the upper part of that range. So where do we go from here? And I'm introducing you to a new graphic that tries to show not only what's going on at the seafloor, but what we also have at the surface. And I'll try to move my mouse slowly here. So if we look at what we have today, it's the combination of the LMR PCAP and the Q4000, which I'm trying to circle with my mouse. And so that's our ability to collect around 25, 26,000 barrels a day. What we're going to make some additions to our capacity over the next couple of weeks by the end of June by adding the first of our freestanding risers. And so if I go over to the left side, you'll see this is the first freestanding riser that we'll put in place. We're in the process of doing that now. It will be connected to the Helix producer, which will then in turn be connected to the Lochronic. Remember before I mentioned the Lochronic can actually store 750,000 barrels. The Helix producer can process about 25,000 barrels a day. So by adding this on top of what we have with the Discoverer Enterprise and the Q4000, we go up closer to 50,000 barrels a day of collection. And so this will be a significant move forward in our collection capability. Now, what's a little different than what we've talked before, the teams continue to look for ways to increase collection capacity, increase redundancy, but also to look for ways to do it in a way that accelerates at the time it happens, and also as we transition from one phase to the other, how is it done more efficiently in terms of our ability to collect. So what's a little different now than what we had talked about a few weeks back was the freestanding riser is still connected through the CDP manifold, which is being put on the floor as we speak, but it's now connected back through the top kill manifold, which the Q4000 is producing through, and this allows us to not only bring this option forward, but allows us to have it in place before we look to remove the LMR PCAP and put the sealing valve on top. So this was an important optimization that the team made, because what we'll have is when we get to the point that we want to put the capping valve on top, which will require us to remove the LMR PCAP, we'll have in the range of 30 to 35,000 barrels a day of collection capability ongoing during that, and I know y'all can appreciate that. That will be an important step. So this will, all this activity will be taking place over the rest of the month of June. If you've been watching the ROV footage, you've probably been seeing the manifold being put in place and tested. The riser is being run as we speak, has been for several days. It takes some period of time to do that. And then once the riser is in place, we'll start collecting with the flexible hoses to the manifold, and then we'll start to collect oil through the Helix producer and the lock line. Before I go on to, and then where do we go beyond the end of June, let me just take a minor deviation here and just talk about the relief wells that we're drilling. The DD3 is going very well. As of this morning, we were at 15,936 feet, and that's measured from the surface of the Gulf of Mexico. I know Admiral Allen uses below the seafloor, so it's a slightly different number. You have to take the 5,000 feet of water off. We're in the process of running an 11 and 7/8 inch liner, and then at that point we'll drill out the middle part of next week, and we'll start what we call our ranging activity. And this is where, as we drill, we use, think of it as electromagnetic sensing to detect where the existing well is, so that we can get very close to it. We're within 200 feet of the well as we sit today, and as they start to drill out and start ranging, they'll find out exactly where it is, and they'll hone in on it over the next 12 to 1,500 feet that they drill. So this is one of the more, this will be a slower paced drilling activity, and so while we're extremely encouraged on how well the top part of the well's gone and we're ahead of schedule, this will be a slower pace as we range and accurately locate this well to the existing well. And then on the DD2 relief well, we're at 10,000 feet from surface, and we're preparing to run the 18-inch liner, and we'll be drilling out in a few days after we've completed that process. So then where do we go past the end of June in terms of subsea containment and collection? So what we will have by the end of June, of course, is, well, let me just back up a second. So we need to remember where we are at the end of June. We've got the one freestanding riser. We've got the LMR PCAP sitting on top, and then we've got the Q4000 collecting, 10,000 barrels a day. So as we start to move forward, we'll need to take the LMR PCAP off and put the sealing valve on top of the LMRP of the existing well. And while we're in that process, we'll continue to run the Helix producer through the initially installed freestanding riser, and also through the Q4000. Now, the Q4000 doesn't show up in this slide that I'm showing you right now, because eventually it goes away. But it will be there while we're putting the capping valve in place. And once we put the capping valve in place, we'll be able to take additional oil and gas to the Discoverer Enterprise, which will have changed over from the LMR PCAP to just using drill pipe and connecting into the capping valve. And we're also bringing another vessel, the Clear Leader, which will connect to the other side of the valve. So we'll have, you can see they're sort of twin collection vessels. And so that will add another 20 to 30,000 barrels a day. And then as we move out the Q4000, we'll be replacing